To call this meeting to order. This is our budget hearing. We just wanted to go through some of the, some more information, and I'm looking for my paper here. Okay. I would look for a motion to approve the agenda for the budget hearing part.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. I have no recorder. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Tyler, would you just write down who made some motions and stuff since, we do have a recorder, sorry, one in the corner. Okay. This is the budget for fiscal year 2023. We're going to be looking at updates of means of financing and some discussion. So, Carol, good morning again.
Good morning, Commissioners. Carol Muller, Commission Office. You began meeting a month ago to talk about the FY23 budget. And for those people who may watch this in a recording at some point, we are a calendar year organization. You asked to revisit the budget on July 5th as you determined the final cash applied amount. And in your documents today, you will find an updated means of finance and the general fund cash applied illustrations. The one thing, if you could bring up the third slide. Okay. Susan, our Budget and Finance Officer, is going to take you through this document. We'll explain. You've seen the first column, you've seen the second column, third column got revised a little bit, and the fourth column is new to you, and that's the part about the cash applied that you're going to do. I just want to recap on new positions. You had a total of requests, you had a total number of requests of 18 new positions for the fiscal year 23 budget. You directed staff to include the following 9 positions: 2 juvenile correction officers, 1 paralegal for the public defender, 1 legal office assistant for the state's attorney's office, 2 correction officers for the jail, 1 sergeant for the jail, 1 sergeant for patrol, and 1 tax and license technician for the office, for the treasurer's office. The proposed budget also includes a 5% matrix adjustment for staff for FY23, along with the changing of the health insurance from 70% employer, 30% employee to 75% employer and 25% employee. So before you today, we're looking for further direction, especially on the cash applied numbers, and if there's anything else you'd like to revisit on this. Just as we look at July, because our lives revolve around Tuesdays, the next time you meet will be July 19th, and the next time after that will be July 26th, at which time you will need to pass a provisional budget at that point, the last Tuesday of this month. Then if you jump ahead, the first Tuesday of September is a required budget hearing per state law, that you will have that. That will be the next time that you see this then, after passing the provisional budget, and you will approve the final budget in September. And I don't have those Tuesday dates memorized quite yet, but on Tuesday, that last Tuesday of September, you will have the opportunity to revise that. So unless you have any specific questions for me, I'm going to turn it over to Susan Beeman, our Budget and Finance Officer.
And I'll turn it over to Susan with just one caveat. We do have one JDC staff that we had kind of left as a possibility. I don't want to discuss that today until Commissioner Benega is back. So that's kind of still on the side burner.
Good morning, Susan Beeman with the Auditor's Office. We're going to go through the slide in front of you, and we're going to be focused on that second column from the right. It's the one that has the heading that says 8% cash applied scenario. That's the scenario we've been using in the past in previous conversations with you. I want to call out the changes from the last time we met on July 16th to today. We've had a couple of request updates from various departments due to just changing estimations from them. So the changes from the 16th of June are highlighted in yellow on the copy up there. It looks like a light green. We had one change to revenue. That is a decrease in revenue of $366,000 requested for the Board of Prisoner Revenue. That is based upon new estimates from the Sheriff's Office. With their increase in number of inmates, they're expecting that there won't be as much bed rental revenue coming in next year just due to rising jail population. If you have questions about that, we do have representatives from the Sheriff's Office here that can speak to that. Going further into the appropriations, the first line is an increase of $693,890. That is the cost of the 9 new positions that you approved or that you discussed approving on the 16th. We also removed $30,000 from our budget related to a vehicle that had been included for equalization. Since their position was not approved, we were able to remove that from the budget. And then the $18,000 is related to increasing fuel costs. The sheriff's office has requested increasing that budget due to the cost in the market. And then as part of our conversation, we evaluated variable hour pay with Human Resources, Carrie Deaver and her team, and that was recommended that we up the variable hour part-time budget for various departments for $58,992, as well as $1,000 adjustment to increase the interfund transfer to accommodate increase in expense for emergency management's fuel. As we get down to this, at the new cash applied projection is just over $12.6 million. Our normal target, what we have historically used, is an 8% cash applied target. That is in pink or purple up on the slide up ahead, which is roughly $6.385 million. That is what we would want to be at using a cash applied target of 8%. So we are roughly $6.2 million over our normal target. Where we can minimize some of that for 2023 is due to the fact that we have ARPA funding and South Dakota CARES funding that we are projecting available for use to cover some of our normal ongoing expenses. We expect around $5.9 million of funding of one-time money that we can use to fund for 2023. That would bring our current deficit down to about $233,000. So just for rough numbers for you, using our 12.6 million cash applied rate, that is roughly a 15.79% cash applied percentage, which is considerably higher than we normally want to be at. And with the one-time money helping fund some of that, it would be roughly an 8.29% cash applied. Any questions on that before I talk through the next column?
Go ahead, Susan.
We've put the column on the right using a 5% scenario for you to consider adjusting our target for cash applied. We know that we are using one-time money to help balance our budget, and we think that we as a county should be thinking about the next strategy of how we're going to fund these expenses after the one-time money is no longer here. And so we have put together a scenario that if you use that 5% target, that would mean our deficit is $2.6 million, and we would encourage you to consider using a cash applied rate lower than that 8% to prepare us for that one-time money expiring.
Questions?
I'm not sure if you're done with your presentation, but so what you're, I mean, the problem that we've had with the ARPA money is it's great that we've been given this money, but it's one-time money and we're using it for ongoing expenses. And so if we didn't have the ARPA money, we all knew that we would end up using some of our opt-out that had been projected. We would have used it for sure this year. And so what you're suggesting in this final column, if I'm tracking with you correctly, is that we do go ahead and use some of our opt-out money to kind of smooth the cost to the taxpayers of what's coming when the ARPA money is gone.
Correct. We'd encourage the commission to consider using some additional opt-out for 2023 to smooth in that tax increase with the preparation to prepare for that one-time money no longer being available.
And this is already approved ARPA, or already approved opt-out money that we have not spent. We approved it several years ago.
Correct.
Yes.
So that both of these scenarios right now have opt-outs remaining at 2022 levels. So we've not increased any opt-out in the current budget presentation. But for each percentage below 8%, it's roughly $800,000 additional that would be into that calculation. So with 5%, it's 2.6 million. 7% would be 800,000 short of that.
Commissioner Karski.
The whole cash applied conversation's interesting, especially if you look at it from the outside. It takes a few years to kind of truly understand it. And Susan, I know you've been doing this for, is it a little over a year now?
Yes.
Thank you. It's our cushion. I mean, it would probably be the best way to put it. When we're looking at the difference between 5% and 8% cash applied, we're not adjusting our expenses. We're just adjusting our cushion.
Correct.
So, and it's more of a philosophical discussion about how much money do we want to kind of give us for the just in case scenario. 8%'s been what the commission has always or kind of looked at doing, and we're really not talking about the 2023 budget. We're talking about the 2024 and 2025 budget, kind of with the goal with setting ourselves up properly to be positioned so that the pain is a lot less at that point.
Yes, that is definitely part of it. You know, with the 8% model, that essentially tries to target us to just break even, so to speak, that we're not building any cushion. We also know that with this one-time funding that it will be going away, and we need to prepare for that, or we will have a sizable deficit that needs to be taken care of in the very near future.
Commissioner Burr?
Susan, so we have nibbled away at our opt-out, never taking all of it, because in good faith, we've just been taking a bit of it each year as needed. And so how much of our current opt-out is available for us to take at this point?
4.75 million.
4.75?
Yes. I believe, and I'm going to look at Carol, I believe when it was initially passed that we've only opted into that amount. We've only used 1.75 of that amount, and that we've not increased that at all from that initial time that we used any of that opt-out. We've not used any new opt-out in the last couple of years.
Madam Chair. I was going to follow up on that.
Can we follow up first?
So that, in effect, shows the good faith this commission has had about using that money. We didn't just go out and buy all the commissioners a new leather jackets or personal pickup trucks.
Correct. It's been, this existing opt-out has not been increased in the last few years.
Commissioner Bender?
So I think back to Commissioner Karski's point, the philosophical issue that we're addressing here is whether our cash applied, which is not a word that private businesses use, so it's difficult for people to understand, but whether we should be budgeting more realistically as to where we would be if we didn't have this one-time money that we know is going away, and whether we should have small incremental tax increases for our taxpayers, or whether our taxpayers would rather have a one-time, have 1 year where their taxes go up. I'm just going to use some number that I'm pulling out of the air so people don't have a heart attack when I say this, but instead of having no tax increases and then a 20% tax increase in 1 year, what we would do if we use this 5% is have a more smooth tax increase over time. We know that we're going to have that tax increase at some point, and whether we smooth that out over a few years or we dump it all into 1 year. And to me, smoothing it out seems to make sense. There's a lot of people that escrow their taxes, and they plan for regular, smooth increases. And if you drop in one big increase, then their escrows are going to be off. A lot of people otherwise on limited incomes or just are just not budgeting personally for a really large increase in 1 year. And so the philosophical question is it better to smooth it out, or would taxpayers prefer to have one huge increase at the end? And I don't know that I think reasonable people could disagree on that. To me, when I do my informal polling of people I run into, people seem to think that they would rather have it smoothed out. I know personally I'd rather have it smoothed out just from my own personal budgeting. But I think that's the crux of the issue that we're talking about philosophically right now.
Commissioner Karski, and then I have a comment.
And I'm, in the interest of avoiding a lot of phone calls, it won't be 20%.
I tried to give a caveat.
Yeah, but the numbers I've seen just projecting out, a $300,000 house would go up $4 a month every year, basically. If we spread it out over 4 or 5 years versus maybe going up $12 or $16 a month in 1 year. So it's more, I mean, a $300,000 house, your taxes, property taxes go up $4 a month. We're doing our best to be prudent. We're watching we had 18 requests for new hires and we're approving 8.
9 or 10.
Yeah, so I mean, we're doing everything we can to manage the process, the people, the expectations of the taxpayers, of our employees. So, I mean, the increases we're talking about, in my mind, are small. Government doesn't need any more money than it absolutely has to have. So I think $4 a month is a reasonable number to look at in the future.
Susan, I think that he is correct. Is it about $4 a month on a $300,000 house? I was trying to remember myself.
Yeah, let me look.
It was even a little less than that.
It might be
And
less.
those
than-
are projections too, folks,
Yeah,
so
that's- yeah.
my number might have been dramatic. Any number we give you is just a projection. It's not a guarantee.
It is just a projection. We are still having some things that, between now and the end of August with utilities and final assessed values that will kind of flush things out a little bit more and we'll revise things. But it is around $4 a month, depending upon, where we go with what level of percentage that you're comfortable with. If you go with the 5%, or if you go for something a little bit higher than that, that would change that calculation. And just remind everyone that part of our challenge with our budget is our property tax revenue, we are capped at increasing at 3% for CPI. So for this year, we have a CPI that's much greater than 3%, but we are limited and capped at 3%. So that is part of our challenge when balancing our budget, is that we don't have the ability to actually mirror what is actually happening in the market.
And for coffee drinkers, which I don't buy coffee out very often, but it's usually more than $4 unless you're buying plain coffee a month. And I'm sure if you drink 2 cups of coffee, it's probably, that doesn't mean we take it lightly. I would be interested in doing the 5% target. I'm wondering how my fellow commissioners feel about that.
I agree.
Can I make that a motion?
I don't even think we need a motion. I think it's just direction. Commissioner Benega, who is not here, has also had this conversation with the auditor's office, and I think he was comfortable with the direction we're going. We don't have anything, we'll have a preliminary budget review in July, and we'll do our final motion at the end of September. But I think it's direction for the commission, or for the auditor's office to move forward and put those numbers correctly in our budget, if that is okay. All right,
Yes,
that'd be my directive to you, Susan.
We can certainly run through using opt-out to balance to a 5% cash applied, and we would update the means of finance accordingly with that.
Okay.
Just so that for provisional budget, that would be reflected.
Okay, and we'll probably talk again about it briefly on the 18th, just if those papers are ready. So we can do it before the end of the month.
Okay.
Okay.
The next slide is just so you have the updated means of finance with those changes. We won't go through this in detail. The only 2 columns on this that changed were the general fund for the ending cash applied rate of 12.6 million reconciles to the previous slide. So this is just what would be officially adopted. And then the emergency management column changed by that $1,000 increase in fuel cost.
Okay.
So the rest of the means of finance remain the same.
Okay, thanks, Susan. Anything else for the auditor's office? I don't think so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you. Then we would look for opportunity for public comment, anything that was not on this current agenda. Okay. Carol,
I
comment?
just wanted to make a couple comments about your budget. The opt-out, Susan is correct, was $6.5 million, 2018. And I know when I first moved into this role, Commissioner Heiberger said, we took a budget opt-out 1 year, and she said, Carol, it was gone the whole year, the first year. And so we've really all worked together to kind of trickle it through and make it last. So I mean, when you look at the fact that was done in 2018, we're in 2022, we're at 5 years. You have been very cautious with doing that. The one other thing I just wanted to mention out is about that opt-out of $4 a month. The opt-out actually is only $3 a month, because even that CPI would increase it $1 a month, even if you don't do anything with it. So the net is only $3 a month.
Okay, thanks, Carol.
Thank you.
And I didn't see anybody move for public comment, so then I would look for a motion to adjourn into executive session following this meeting, according to the purpose of South Dakota Codified Law 1-25-2-1, 3, and 4.
Motion to recess for that reason.
Second.
Second, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. If you are not a part of that conversation, we would ask you to leave, and we are going to reconvene in an executive session. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Thank you.
Is there information?